What is going on, guys? This is indeed another production created by Elite Ringside Network. Of course, you can find us on Facebook.com/ER Network 24/7, which is also our Twitter handle. How convenient. I am, of course, Nate the Effing Great, and I'm not joined here by AJ, Chris, Max, or Spencer this time around. No. We're changing things up in a major way, and no, this is not an edition of Change the F Up. That's on other days. I'm actually being joined here by somebody who I admire, who I respect. He is the Kevin Steen to my Lionheart. For those of you that catch that reference, good for you. For those of you that don't, go look the independent circuit up. This is indeed the mastermind behind Pro Wrestling Off Topic with Joshua and Zachary Hagen Bergeron or something like that. Yeah. This is indeed Joshua Jaeger. How's it going, good sir?
Hey, pretty good. Thanks for the that was an awesome introduction. I think it's funny that you had mentioned it's not any of these people, it's someone I actually have respect for. I liked that line. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, I mean, we've known each other for quite a few years, going back to the independent scene. And for those of you that haven't gotten a chance, check out the interview that I've had with Joshua Jaeger. It should be up on the Spreaker.com. I know that we've had a little bit of bumps here and there where I've actually had to delete a couple of things, but we are going to be rebooting them back up once I get back to the, I think it's a broadcaster deal or something like that for Spreaker.com.
That happens.
But yeah, we have to cut some things. But yeah, we had an awesome interview, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to actually talk about something that my co-hosts are not very fond of, and your co-host has gone leaps and bounds into saying that, he's not fond of it at all, even though on Facebook he's said many a times, I got nothing but mad respect for them. I got no problems with them. I got no problems. It's like, yeah, you're blowing smoke up his ass right now. We know that's not true. We're talking about Impact Wrestling.
Or are we?
That's
I don't even know what to describe this as anymore, because it was so easy to say TNA, and I never ever liked the name TNA, but it was what they were known as.
Right.
And then Impact Wrestling. Okay, well that's a few more consonants and a few more syllables to spit out, but okay, I got used to saying Impact Wrestling for a couple weeks there. But now apparently it's not that either.
Yeah, the news broke earlier today that GFW, Global Force Wrestling, and Impact Wrestling, they are going to be merging together, and it's no longer going to be Impact Wrestling, to my knowledge.
It's GFW. Anthem has made an official announcement saying that from now on, moving forward, and I don't know if it's at Slammiversary or the night after Slammiversary when they start their tapings again,
right?
But it will be known, their TV show will be known as GFW Impact.
Jeez Louise.
It's weird. It's so weird, because I've seen their pilot episodes, and I've seen some of what GFW did together. Like, they never got a cable deal. They never had anything. Right. All they did was wrestle around ballparks around the country and had, 500-600 people watching them at random spots. But they taped those shows, and they had a pilot episode that actually looked pretty cool that they taped in Vegas. I want to say in 2014 it must have been, or something like that. But their look was very similar to what TNA was pushing, but it was a six-sided ring, and their colors were very green and neon and orange, and it was interesting to see the way it looked, similar to Impact or TNA, but very different. And I don't know, I'm completely in the dark here on what we're going to call this anymore.
Yeah.
Just GFW?
It might be just GFW. They might try to squeeze a little bit of Impact in there, but I think one of the things that I'm more concerned about is what is this going to mean for the championships for TNA? I mean,
supposedly,
or Impact. I keep.
Oh yeah, I know, right? What are you going to call it? TNA. Yeah, exactly. This is TNA, but it's TNA in a very different light anymore. The view of it is completely changing. Kind of going back to the way that TNA was between the years of 2004 to 2008, 2009. That 4 or 5 year span there, when they had a really strong identity, when they had a really strong roster. And I'm not going to say like what most people say is like, it went downhill when Hogan came in, because most of what they did when Hogan was there was still pretty good. Like, there was still moments that in that span that were really well done. It was when they just weren't putting together interesting ideas anymore, and they were screwing over the talent that they had built up so long, and that is all fall on the shoulders of Dixie Carter. I mean, that is everything. All on her. Like, anything that is negative that you can say about this company, it's her bad management, bad decision making, just awful.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that, and I know that with GFW coming in, and of course this being Impact, founder is still, of course, Jeff Jarrett. I mean, we talked about this earlier.
The founder of both companies.
He's basically taken both the companies that he founded and merging them together into one super baby, we could call it.
Yeah, it's really weird. And what it's been building up to on TV, especially at the last 4 weeks when they recorded the India tapings, which were really good wrestling shows, honestly.
God, yeah.
They were pretty good. They'd been building up to TNA and Global Force Wrestling and merging all the belts to become Impact Wrestling Championship belts. Well, my guess now is that they will just throw the Impact or the TNA lineage and the title history not in the garbage, but just it's gone. Like, it'll be disappeared, and you'll be calling it the GFW World Championship. You'll be calling it the GFW X Division Champion, the GFW Women's Champion, because there's two different, Sienna and
Rosemary.
Rosemary, yes, with that awesome music intro, by the way. That was really well done. Surprised me, because I was like, holy shit, he knows his stuff. It's so weird sitting next to someone who actually knows something other than, the AJ Styles WWE theme. Yeah, it's weird. They're going to merge all the belts. They're going to make champions out of all these people head to head and see which championship is the supreme one.
Yeah, they were building that up, like you said, for I'm trying to remember which ones. They've done that for the main titles as well as the women's title. They already did it with the tag team titles.
Right. Yep. Yeah, LAX, or the new version of LAX, have had the belts for a few weeks now.
I will say this about LAX. When they first started off, and when I first started watching, that was probably around 2005, 2006, because that was when Christian was around. I remember. I think
it was a good time.
Yeah, definitely. I remember. I think the first event I saw was the main event between him and Monty Brown, and it was actually it was actually really good.
Yep.
A lot of people probably can give Monty Brown a lot of discredit. We know your co-host probably will say that. Or
I like Monty Brown.
I mean,
Alpha male.
he'll also be like, no, he's not Monty Brown. He's Marcus Corvon. Oh God,
he was at WrestleMania as Marcus Corvon.
Yeah, that's how people are probably going to remember him. That's really sad.
That's all right.
But
just like Awesome Kong is only known as Karma.
Apparently so, or Amazing Kong if you go to Japan, right?
Oh, true. Yep.
But yeah, when they first started off, when it was Homicide and Hernandez, and Conan was like the ringleader.
Yeah,
that was where they took off really well.
Right.
They were just like an immense, amazing team, kind of like what Jinder is now in WWE, but with
Did you say Jinder?
What should I say, Ginger?
Or did you say Jinder?
I said Jinder.
You said what Jinder is now?
Yeah, he's like one of those guys who's still, basically putting down the American lineage and putting up his lineage higher.
Yep.
That was what LAX was doing.
And they still are. They're very much about that now. They're very much about that. I'm a little surprised that they didn't, because there's the Veterans of War tag team, VOW, with Crimson and another guy that I can never remember his name, but he's good. He's a good wrestler, and Crimson is much improved. Like, he has hit the indie circuit for the last few years, and he's improved by quite a bit. But they were building up a decent VOW LAX feud for a while, because they had this one segment that I had talked about on PWOT once, where and it was really well done, was Conan was ranting about the U.S., and there was this dude, this like veteran, like you could tell he had an old vet's hat on, and he was an older man, and he was just waving the American flag, and like Conan got so pissed off at him, and that wound up bringing out the VOW guys, or the POW, Veterans of War tag team.
The POW.
The Prisoners of War, to come out and kind of save the guy at ringside. It was really well done, build up to a feud, which sort of happened in one match on Impact, and it was like, well, they could probably have pushed that into Slammiversary, but there's nothing on them at all that are going to be on the card that I know of.
Yeah, it's really weird. I think that there's like some kind of four-way matchup, which we're going to get into. We're going to go into our predictions for Slammiversary later on in the show, but we want to kind of just discuss a little bit about Impact, because like we said, over on Elite Ringside Network, a lot of the guys there, they don't really see TNA or Impact Wrestling or now GFW.
What are we going to... Okay, we got to agree.
Okay.
What are we going to call it?
We might as well just call it GFW.
All right,
so... Yeah.
What do you think about that? A wrestling company putting the W back in a wrestling organization. Isn't that weird?
Well, it's weird because a lot of times we know it as the 80s, W in the front, but now it's
in the 80s and the 90s, you didn't have a wrestling company unless you had the word W in it.
Right.
Or the letter W. It was like WWF, NWA, AWA, ECW. Like, you had to have the word wrestling in the name of your company. And that went away. It was really weird. TNA is its own thing. Ring of Honor, Evolve, PW, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Oh, that's got a W in it. But Evolve. There's all these names that just kind of like they're trying to be clever about it, where you don't necessarily know what it is until you like look and it's wrestling. This is the first new company that's got the letter W in it in quite a while. I think that's interesting, actually.
Yeah. I actually will say that I think I feel more comfortable with Jeff Jarrett being back in the reins. I mean, we definitely...
As long as he's not making financial decisions, I think it'll be really well done. Like, he's a decent booker, and he's not booking himself. So, like, those are all the issues. Those are usually the issues with Jeff Jarrett, is when he's booking himself, it's like, yeah, he's always going to be in the main event. We get it. Oh, my God.
Yeah, well, let me ask this question. If you could take either or, and you kind of have to, would you rather take the reign of Jeff Jarrett as world champion earlier on in TNA, or the tyranny that was the Dixie Carter reign?
Oh, definitely Jeff Jarrett. Because at least during that run, you had really good undercard wrestling. And I was a big fan of the X Division. I've always been a big fan of the X Division. And I think that the wrestling on TNA was always really good. And for a while, I would say from 2007 to 2010-ish, it was the best in the world. Maybe not New Japan. I was not the most familiar with New Japan at the time. But in the US, I thought TNA had the best wrestling going, period. Ring of Honor always had excellent wrestling, but it was always indie style, where it was like every match was a 20-minute barn burner, where it was like all false finishes, and it's just like I'm completely blown up. But TNA had a really good way of putting together a pay-per-view or even TV show that had decent build-up for every match, and all the undercard matches were really well done. It was when you hit your main event, that was usually where TNA was faltering, because they were either bringing in old retired WWF guys, or you have Jeff Jarrett attempting to wrestle.
Right.
So he's a good wrestler. He was always really good, above average, and I say he's deserving of any Hall of Fame that's out there, but he's not Ric Flair.
Right.
He's not Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's Jeff Jarrett. He's like I don't know, a poor man's Bret Hart. Like, he is good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him. You can't. I mean, like, what Jeff Jarrett always said was, like, in his wrestling career, that he let his ego and he let his mouth get him in trouble, and it got him in trouble and put him on a path that was very odd and very different than a lot of other wrestlers had, because his history is from the 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010. It's like a 40-year wrestling career. It's going to be when it's all said and done. And he had opportunities to be in big money feuds with Shawn Michaels, and he let his mouth get in the way. He had big opportunities to be in big money feuds with Bret Hart, and he let his mouth get in the way. And he would leave and go to WCW, and it's like, what are you doing in WCW? You're going to be the U.S. champ and feud with Mongo McMichael? Great job there. And you come back, and you get in a good situation with Owen Hart in a tag team, and he's like starting to build himself up again. And what does he do? He lets his mouth and his idiotic ideas get in the way, and he goes back to WCW. And it's just like, if he just stuck to his guns and kept his mouth shut, he probably would have had those WrestleMania moments with Shawn Michaels and with Bret Hart. Who knows if he would have main evented a WrestleMania even. I mean, it could have been a different path for him.
I think we probably could both agree that the only time that he should open up his mouth and, just start shooting bullets is when he was in front of the mic.
Yeah, that's
because that's usually when he did.
That's about it.
He did an amazing job as a mic worker. He probably still does, but
he's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
Another thing I think that
slap nuts.
I think another thing that definitely stands out when I think of Impact Wrestling is the evolution of the Knockouts division, or in other.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. A lot of people nowadays, they're saying, they'll give women a chance, and, they're saying, like, oh, women are making history. I mean, this past week, 3 shows had, 3 main event women's matches, and they were all pretty good.
Right.
Although, I would say, like, Tuesday's Money in the Bank match should not have happened, because what happened at Money in the Bank in the first place. But that's a rant for another time.
Does it even matter? Because it ended the same goddamn way anyway.
Pretty much. Except, a guy didn't actually win the women's match.
Nobody interfered. He attempted to.
Right.
What is his ramifications?
I don't know.
Does it even matter?
It doesn't
Who
matter.
the fuck is writing SmackDown? I'm just so angry, because they have the ultimate roster. They have everything set and like, everything is like painted in gold, and it's just like, here, put together a show, and they just can't fucking do it.
I guess not. But
that's crazy.
But when I think about, the knockouts, the GFW knockouts, in the early goings, I mean, a lot of people, they were talking about the amazing rivalries that were going on. Gail Kim and Awesome Kong is definitely one of them.
Gail Kim and Awesome Kong.
Angelina Love, when she was the champion, was great. Madison Rain's run when she was
was awesome. Yep.
Yeah, now she's married to Josh Matthews. What the hell is wrong with you, Madison? You picked probably the worst person. I'm sorry.
They both kind of work behind the scenes.
Well,
so they got their careers.
Fair enough. But yeah, just a lot of Gail Kim and Taryn, who had arguably one of the best
ladder matches,
and the last knockout standing matchup at Slammiversary, ironically enough, was just absolutely amazing. So for those of you that thought that Nikki Cross versus Asuka was insane, Boy, howdy, you gotta
yeah.
check out Taryn versus Gail.
Taryn
Kim.
and Gail Kim put together some spectacular matches. Yeah, really good stuff.
But yeah, they were always the ones that just always found ways to push the envelope. I mean, the Extreme Makeover Battle Royal that Jim Cornette geniusly came up with.
Was that with Roxy?
Yeah, that
she
was
got shaved at the end. Yeah,
that was where it just it was one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh, they're actually pushing this envelope. They're actually going in this direction to where somebody's getting their head shaved. Because WWE's they only done that once, and that was WrestleMania 20. But I probably would look at the build up to that, and it'd probably be like, it's probably okay. But the build up to the Extreme Makeover Battle Royal was actually really good because it's like you don't know who's going to get their head shaved. You don't know who's going to get the opportunity. Of course, I think a lot of people would have found out that Gail Kim was going to win regardless, but at the same time, it's Gail Kim. She's one of the best women in the world today, and geez Louise, honestly, if I look at greatest women in history, she's definitely within maybe top 5, top 10 at least.
Gail Kim is really good. I mean, that's the thing too, is like without considering a lot of the current world wrestlers, as in like Charlotte, Sasha, and Bayley, and Becky Lynch, and of course Alexa Bliss, and even Asuka. I mean, they're going to wind up being some of the best that we've ever seen, just because they've taken a different look at how women's wrestling is going to be in the WWE. But like in TNA or GFW or Impact, like they've had a different view on how women's wrestling should be for quite a while. Problem is over like 2014, 15, and 16, they really shifted gears on that and just made it an afterthought, where it was basically a joke until Rosemary came in, until Gail Kim like just basically freaked out on everyone and said like, look, like if you guys don't fix this, I'm gone. And they just pretty much ignored her until now she's gone. Now she's gone. So they have to really refocus, and they've been trying to. Rosemary's really good. I like Sienna a lot. I also like can't think of Braxton Sutter and
Allie.
Allie. Yeah, I do like Allie. I think she's a really good wrestler. And a lot of these girls have really good indie wrestling matches and good history in the ring, so they know what they're doing. It's just they need to build it up again. Mm-hmm. It's in a spot right now where it's definitely not anywhere in consideration of being anywhere near as good as the WWE is women's division. But this is a first step in building it back up, taking the two best women's wrestlers they have, and that's Sienna and Rosemary, and letting them go. And hopefully they'll actually let them go in the ring and not just put them in a 3-minute squash or something ridiculous.
Well, let's hope not, but
I don't think it will be, but we'll see. They've done decent build up with it. I just hope there isn't a ton of interference.
Right.
That's what I'm really worried about, because each of them have like a lot of people that are like their allies in this feud.
Right, yeah.
Rosemary's got Allie and Braxton Sutter. They're their allies of some sort, and then Sienna's leading this weird faction with like Congo Kong and Cam and Laura Van Ness, who's very funny. Her storyline's very funny. It's been pretty good.
I kind of wish that she would just do something different than just keep coming out in the wedding dress.
It's really weird, yeah.
It's like, lady, we know that you just got stood up at the altar, but
yeah.
Even certain brides, like Bridezilla, they didn't hold it out for this long. Jeez Louise.
It's become a gimmick of hers. It's really weird. Some of the attire in GFW is really odd right now. Like, her coming out in the wedding dress is really odd, and I think Loki coming out in a suit and a tie is really weird, and I can't get my brain around it. Like, why is he wrestling in a suit? And it looks cool, though. It actually doesn't, and his style and his wrestling skills are still very, very good. So it's kind of cool.
It's just one of those things.
Really weird.
Well, I think it was supposed to be like a build-up, like he's supposed to be a hitman or something like that. But unless you capitalize on that gimmick, there really is no point in them.
The only thing I can think is that if you're flipping channels and you see a dude in a suit beating the shit out of somebody, you'd stop and watch for a second. Just even like if you weren't a wrestling fan, you'd be like, what is this? Why is there a dude in a suit?
And then there's WWE fans that just pound it by is like, oh, somebody's doing a corporate game gimmick. Great.
Yeah, basically.
All right, so I think we got a pretty good amount of talking about, GFW. So I think that we will spend the rest of this time actually going over the card and give our predictions for GFW Slammiversary tomorrow. 15 years. I mean,
the 15-year anniversary. It's basically TNA's. If this is going to be the swan song. I mean, I remember when we watched Bound for Glory last year.
Oh, yeah.
In October, we had said, because at that time we were thinking that they were going to be bought out by WWE like the next day because they had basically pooled enough resources or borrowed enough money from different companies to run one show, and that was for Bound for Glory. And it was just like this prayer, Hail Mary, that it even got pulled off. And it was a really fun show. And then, everything that happened historically after that happened, and it was just crazy. But, like, this could be what you'd actually consider maybe the swan song or the final go for TNA before they become their new identity moving forward.
Yep, GFW. So
it'll be interesting.
Yeah, let's just get right into it. So the first matchup on this card, we have 8 matches to go over, so plenty to talk about.
Yep.
The 4-way tag team match for the Impact Wrestling, as well as GFW Tag Team Championships, the Latin American Exchange versus...
Is this going to be the opener? Like, do you think that, or is that just how it's listed?
It's just how it's listed.
This is actually the match I'm looking forward to almost more than anything else. It's really crazy.
Latin American Exchange versus Drago, which kind of surprised me. I actually sent a tweet out to...
Drago and Phantasma from Lucha Underground.
That is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Versus... maybe you know the names. I think I'll let you...
Naomichi, Marufuji, and Taiji Ishimori. So those are 2 wrestlers that are from Noah, Pro Wrestling Noah in Japan. Since Pro Wrestling Noah and GFW/TNA have now a working wrestling agreement with each other to exchange talent. So this is the very beginning of this is how it's going to be. And apparently both these guys are excellent wrestlers. They're not necessarily a tag team.
Right.
But this is kind of like the first taste of this Pro Wrestling Noah style.
It might be a Eddie Edwards, David Richards deal where it's like you take 2 really good, successful singles competitors, put them as a team, and they might be something better than we expect.
Maybe. We'll see.
And Laredo Kid and Garza Jr., who are just kind of there. Right?
Yeah, Laredo Kid and Garza Jr. have been on GFW Impact. They've been on Impact all year so far.
Right.
They debuted around like January or February, and they've been pretty good. They're impressive. Laredo Kid is a masked wrestler. He's pretty awesome. The only way I could see this going is LAX retaining.
Yeah,
They're already unified the belts. They already have the TNA and the GFW belts, the tag team titles. So my guess is the only way you can go with this is have LAX retain. Just because it is Slammiversary and LAX is a TNA original like faction, tag team, whatever.
Right.
It'd be a good way for them to... If this is the way to open the show, it's going to be amazing. Like, that's going to be really good.
I could definitely see that. We go into the Impact Wrestling X Division Championship, which will probably be the GFW X Division title.
I don't know, yeah.
Sanjay Dutt versus Low-Ki in a 2-out-3 falls matchup. Oh, this will be an instant.
This is going to be good. It's going to be really good, but it probably will be more of a structured wrestling style match rather than a flippy dippy X Division. I mean, it's going to be different. It's not going to be the what am I trying to say? Not the Hardy Boys, but the younger version of them.
Young Bucks.
The Young Bucks. There you go. A lot of times you see the Young Bucks being mentioned in this style of X Division wrestling or a bunch of indie style flippy dippy stuff. But,
right. I'm going to go with Sanjay to retain. I think that he just won the title back in India. I think it's just a little too soon right now. Plus, Sanjay Dutt is finally a champion.
Yeah, exactly.
Why would you just take that moment away?
Yep, I agree. I think Sanjay Dutt also retains because I don't think Low-Ki's going to stick around for too much longer. I think this is his last run.
Man. Well, adios Low-Ki if that's the case.
Yep.
Full Metal Mayhem mixed tag match. Eddie Edwards and Alicia Edwards versus Davey Richards and Angelina Love.
Oh, that's going to be a tag team match now?
Yeah, it's a mixed tag match.
Oh, crazy.
I think that, well, if you probably watched it on the Fight Network. They had that contract signing last night. Or
that's
a couple
true.
Nights
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yep.
So, boy. I
know. Okay, so here's a little bit of history on this.
Right.
I believe that this Eddie Edwards is not going to be wrestling too much longer. I think he had talked about wanting to retire.
Really?
This year. So my guess is, and they've been doing a decent job with this, especially with having Angelina Love. Like, she is so this perfect heel female relationship destroyer. Like, she's awesome. She ruined the Beautiful People. She's ruined tag teams before. This is like perfect. And I think Davey Richards and her as this unit moving forward is a good thing. And I think Davey Richards wins as a heel and moves on to another feud. That's probably going to be a good money feud.
All right, so you're going to go with Richards and Love for this one. I'll go with the Edwards. Just maybe just, it's one of those
It
things.
could be one of those things. It's Slammiversary, so he's a former world champ. So
you never know. All right, so we go into the... Oh, I forgot about this tag match. I'm probably not going to really give two bits of a rat's ass about this. D'Angelo Williams and Moose taking on Chris Adonis. Some people might remember him as Chris Masters. And Eli Drake. God help me, Eli. What is going on, man?
I actually don't mind this feud at all, and it's going to be something that's going to give them a lot of attention, especially if D'Angelo Williams is in the ring and he actually performs well. I know he's been training. He's been training for about 2 or 3 months now to get in the ring and actually be a wrestler. So we'll see. I just hope it's not a Pac-Man Jones type thing where it's just ridiculous. That was awful.
Where he competed in one matchup and he only...
No, he wrestled 3 or 4 times, but he never touched anyone. The idea was he could not touch anyone, so it was all R-Truth.
That's right.
Or Ron the Truth Killings wrestling in those matches and winning them for him.
His finishing move was a pinfall.
Yeah, basically.
That was it.
Yep.
I think they're going to give the baby faces the win, so I'm going to go with D'Angelo Williams and Moose.
I also, as a side note, I hope they drop the Grand Championship belt because it's been a flop since it's been brought in.
Well, we talked about this, I think, when it first came out with... when they had Eddie Edwards and Aaron Rex, Damian Sandow.
Aaron Rex, that was so terrible.
Well, the thing was that we honestly saw how the card was, I guess, supposedly supposed to be, and we actually both disagreed on the last part of it. We thought that Eddie Edwards should have been the one that won because he had most of... I don't know how they did the points.
Oh, yeah, the points. That didn't make any sense.
Well, the problem is they did the same damn points every time. It was 9 here, 10 here, 10 here, 9 here. It's why don't you just throw an 8 and a 7 and something like that? It's not that impressive.
What kind of wrestling people are scoring a match like this, especially when it looked like Eddie Edwards was hand over fist, winning? He was doing more moves, so what's the scoring? How do you score a professional wrestling match? Well, silly. You dock him points on botches. What the fuck is that? What are you doing? It's so weird. And Aaron Rex can't. I don't think Damian Sandow can out wrestle anyone. Much less frickin' Eddie Edwards, who's actually a really good wrestler.
He's a phenomenal wrestler. I'm not. Well, I shouldn't say phenomenal. That only goes to one person, that being AJ Styles. So, TNA original. I mean GFW original. Whatever.
Yeah.
Unification match for the Impact Wrestling Knockouts and the GFW Women's Championships. I'm honestly hoping that they keep the Women's Knockout Championship belt because I think this is one of those belts where it's GFWs just look so bad.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah, the Knockouts Championship is a really unique name, and I think it's a good. I like how it's got double meaning. I've always liked the name of Knockout. Matter of fact, I've been a big advocate for them doing a show specifically for women and just calling it Knockouts. The show should be just called Knockouts. Beautiful women who can wrestle, or any kind of women, doesn't it? I mean, if you think of Knockouts, I mean, they have beautiful women, so it's
right. Rosemary, the Knockouts champion, versus Sienna, the GFW Women's champion. Who have you got and why?
I'm a big Sienna fan. I don't think they've let her have a lot of moments right now to show off her skills in the ring. She's very strong. She reminds me a lot of Beth Phoenix in the ring. But she's scrappy. She's got more of that indie style of wrestler in her, and she will do some pretty impressive stuff. I watched indie matches with her before she became Sienna in TNA, and it's pretty good stuff. So I hope they let them actually do their thing, as well as Rosemary. I like them both a lot, but I think Rosemary goes over because she's actually been this injection that the Knockouts division's needed for so long. When we were talking about Gail Kim leaving, and it was just kind of what's the identity of this faction, or what's the identity of this division anymore in wrestling? Rosemary's been that one thing that she was great as a side show for DK when DK won the championship belts. She's taken some huge bumps. She reminds me a lot of Daphne back in TNA and even WCW. Her style, she's willing to take huge bumps and stuff, and I just can't see them taking the belt off Rosemary. I think Rosemary is the type of wrestler right now that if they wanted to, they could have her become the longest reigning Knockouts champion since she's already got a good amount of days under her belt anyway.
That would be beautiful.
I think you could run all the way to Bound for Glory with her as champ.
There you go. I'd be totally fine with that. I'm going to go with Rosemary too. I agree with you 100%. There is no reason for her to lose a belt, and I think...
I wouldn't be mad if Sienna won. I'm a big Sienna fan, so I wouldn't be mad.
I wouldn't be mad. I think it'd be just...
That's just my prediction.
For me, if Sienna won, it would just be kind of one of those things where it's why?
And then a couple weeks later, were they going to bounce it around again? What's the point? It's unless they were going to go and push for Sienna.
Right. We go into the strap match, which features James Storm against Ethan Carter III. Sing 3.
Yeah, I know. Oh yeah, that was bad. That was bad.
Well,
There's been a decent build up for this feud, and I'm really hoping it's a good match. It's just one that this is kind of when we get into that main event scene where I almost hoped that one or both of these guys would have been the main event. So I'm not a huge Alberto fan. I do like Lashley a lot as the champ. He's a great, strong champ. But I would have rather have seen Lashley versus James Storm in the main event. So seeing this getting like the undercard, kind of, not a slap in the face, but like, here's your parting gifts because you didn't quite make it to the main event.
Right.
It's weird. Like, I want James Storm to win because he's a guy that's been there for 15 years. You know, on and off a little bit in the middle there, but like, he's the guy that legit can say like, oh yeah, I was at the first episode of Impact, along with Loki and along with Abyss and along with, you know, I want to see James Storm win, but I think in a business sense, if you have EC3 and he's going to be the future of the company, meaning a lot of people think that he can be the face of the company once Lashley's reign of terror is ending, then you go with EC3, and I think that would make the most business sense. But I hope James Storm. So there, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like,
yeah, I'm gonna go with James Storm on this one, just because, you know, Slammiversary,
right.
TNA original. So I think that, you know, I think storyline sense it makes sense to have James Storm go over. I still think that EC3 would find a way to bounce back. He is somehow one of the most,
and it's like a strategy. So like,
better than Derek Bateman. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh yeah,
and the what was it, the red, white, and blue patriotic flag
pants.
Although that was probably one of the best things. I mean, Jericho had a list. Derek Bateman had the pants.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh man. Oh gosh. Now I got to talk about this. So basically, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there was a moment where NXT was actually a competition show, and they actually had like pros and rookies, and EC3 was formerly known as Derek Bateman, and his pro was Daniel Bryan. And they were on like this double date with the Bella Twins, which, ironically enough, you know, he would end up marrying one of them.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan, not EC3.
Yeah.
I think that Cena would have a bit of a say in Nikki Bella trying to go after EC3.
Yeah, right.
But there was just like this funny moment where he always had these like red, white, and blue cargo pants. And it's just so funny because he always made it seem like, you know, he could kick ass. He was like the next Chuck Norris or something like that.
Yeah.
And then just, you know, the Bells are fighting over Daniel Bryan, and and then next thing you know, there's like water or soda got on his pants or something like that. He just goes apeshit like, my pants, no, my pants, no, my pants. And he just storms out and just throws him at like a bag full of change.
Jesus, that's really funny. He is a good character. Like he's funny, he's witty, he can handle his own in the ring, and he is improving. And it's probably one of those things that the WWE is just waiting for him to like get to a point where he's like really improved, and he's like had a taste of the, you know, the not millionaire lifestyle of a WWE superstar, you know, or whatever. And then they'll eventually just give him the call back and say like, look, you're finally got it. Like let's make this
finally
work.
Got it.
Well, maybe, you know, I mean, I don't want to see that because I think they should not. You know, all talent should not end up in the WWE.
Right.
I don't want that to happen. It should be spread out evenly amongst all of these organizations so that there's actual balance in the wrestling community.
Right.
Crazy concept.
I know. It's crazy to think like that, but you know.
Otherwise, you wind up with what we have now with guys like Cesaro, who are main eventers in the mid card. Guys like AJ Styles, main eventer in the mid card.
Yeah.
Well, I know he's not, but you know.
No, I get what you mean.
It's just weird.
Speaking of weird, let's get into this next tag team matchup. That being Jeremy Borash and not Chris Park, but Joseph Park. Versus Josh Matthews and Scott Steiner. I am praying to God that Josh Matthews just gets killed.
I don't know what to think. It's going to be one of those weird, like Zach considers it like a spectacle where it's not going to be a wrestling match.
Oh my God, only that idiot would think that way.
Well, no, he doesn't think that about this match. I'm just saying when he said Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, those matches that they had were not good matches. They were instead spectacles. They were.
So he's comparing the Bill Goldberg and Brock Lesnar thing, which, you know, I can understand was not exactly the best stuff, but it was a spectacle, to this tag team match.
Well, I think I'm not saying he didn't say any of that. I'm saying that's where I'm using the term that Zach used, the word spectacle, because I want to see Scott Steiner, what he can actually do in the ring. If he's going to come out in a leather jacket and just throw a couple punches, that's what I'm expecting to happen, because I don't think he can wrestle anymore. I don't think he's got any build left. But if he comes out in his old wrestling gear and he actually comes out and puts a couple moves together, And you see Joseph Park transform into Abyss and hit a black hole slam on him in the middle of the ring, or gets out his big barbed wire bat and starts bashing some skulls. That'll be kind of cool. Like, it'll be interesting to see how they wind up pulling this storyline together that's been basically circulating for years and waiting to see a Joseph Park explode in the ring into the monster that we all know that he actually is in Abyss. So, I don't know. I'm intrigued by it. I think it'll be entertaining. I think you got some funny characters, and I don't think it's going to be a good wrestling match, but I think it'll be cool to see. So I'm looking forward to it. And I think the winners of the match will be Borash and Joseph Park / Abyss.
Yeah, I agree. And just as long as, Josh Matthews gets maybe chokeslammed through the ring, then, I'll go home a happy man. But
you really don't like Josh Matthews?
Josh Matthews is just annoying.
I think he's a horrible commentator. I think he is awful on the mic as a commentator. I think he's a good interviewer person, and I think he plays a good character in the ring. But when he's trying to call a match and his stupid voice is like he's losing his voice, yelling so much, that I can't stand. And he's not good.
That I can agree with. Let's go on to the main event, which this will be interesting. The Impact Wrestling World Title and the GFW Global Title. Keep the Impact Heavyweight Title, for the love of God, please. Because
I don't know. I don't know anymore.
I do not want that Global Title to
Maybe Anthem's going to save some money and they won't have to make a new unified belt between the two. They'll just use the GFW one.
I hope so.
What is all this with? Okay, so you got Alberto El Patron and Bobby Lashley going against each other, but they have people in their corners. Have you read about this?
Lashley's got King Mo in his corner.
King Mo returning to Impact / GFW.
Interesting. And Del Rio's got Dos Caras.
I have no idea who that is. No. That was not a part of their storyline on TV. That was not a part of anything we've seen. It was just basically announced on TV or on the internet. Oh, we'll figure it out on the internet. It was just announced by Jeff Jarrett on Twitter saying, oh, by the way, they're going to have these MMA guys in their corner. So who's Dos Caras?
Oh, Dos Caras is the father of Alberto Del Patron.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. That makes sense.
So that's
neat. He's a former MMA guy, right? Or former wrestler, former something?
Yeah, former Lucha Libre guy.
Okay. And King Mo being in Lashley's corner is really interesting because they've attempted many times in the past to do things with King Mo. I mean, the last time I think King Mo was a part of it was like when Dixie Carter got powerbombed through the table by Bully Ray. They had King Mo come out and was on EC3's team or whatever to like help out, but he never wrestled. He was just there as an enforcer, which was weird. But
I'm going to go with Lashley as much.
I hope Lashley, but I don't think it's going to be Lashley. I really don't.
I don't want Patron because he has one of the worst finishers I've ever seen in my entire life. And
the armbar is pretty cool.
Well, the armbar is good. It's just that weird tree of woe thing.
I know.
With the foot stomp. That's just...
I know.
That annoys the hell out of me.
And it's gotten worse since he's hit the Indies. It's been more sloppy. He's like trying to kill people with it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I do. I agree. I want Lashley to win. I hope Lashley wins. I just don't think it's going to because the way they built this up, they've had Lashley looking like gold in the ring. They've had him successfully defending the belt week after week, and I think Alberto is going to come in and be the guy that finally knocks him off the pedestal and be the new face of the company, of GFW, because he is the GFW champ. And if you have the GFW guy go over the TNA guy at the end, then, hey, we're supreme. GFW is the brand we're going to use moving forward. And it's stupid. And I hate Alberto Del Rio. I do. I got nothing.
I'm laughing in agreement with you. So
I got nothing.
Yeah, there's the card for Slammiversary.
So you're picking Lashley?
I'm picking Lashley.
I'm picking Alberto because I think that's the direction they're going to go, but I hope to God you are right. I hope you're right.
Well, we'll find out tomorrow. And if I see you raging on Facebook, I'll know that it did not go so well.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to order the show live. I have way too much stuff going on Sunday, but I will wind up viewing it either early Monday morning or Monday afternoon or something.
Yeah, same here. It's not that we hate this whole GFW thing. It's just, we do have lives outside of
it's way too much. I got my son's graduation party tomorrow, and then we got other things on. And it is 4th of July weekend, so I'm not going to sit in front of a boob tube. We're going to go out and light some fireworks and stuff. But, no, you and I were together for Slammiversary last year. You and I were together for Bound for Glory last year. I mean, those are shows that I've paid good money for. I hope that what we wind up seeing here now is Anthem is push the company in a new direction, and they want to start doing live shows. They want to start doing live events in front of like house shows and stuff like that. I hope that means they're going to do either bi-monthly pay-per-views or once-a-month pay-per-views or something, more than twice a year.
Right.
Because these twice-a-year specials that they do are good, and we deserve 4 or 6 of them a year at least. Like, they've been good. I mean, Bound for Glory was awesome last year. I had so much fun with that show. Mm-hmm. It was a good show.
Definitely. So we are going to wrap it up here, but before we leave, I do believe that you deserve a little bit of pluggage for your guys' stuff. So by all means, how can people find you, whether you're doing your Twitter or whether you're doing Pro Wrestling Off Topic?
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure thing. We, Zach Hagenbusher and myself, we run a podcast on, it is on a lot of things. It's Pro Wrestling Off Topic. We run on TuneIn. We run on Podomatic.com. Also Spreaker here on this wonderful app that Zach loves to plug every episode. It's fun. We've been doing it for a while now. I think we're moving on to 3.5 years, over 100 episodes. Pretty good. If you want to interact with me in the social networking universe, you can always check me out on Twitter @_Joshua Turbo. Don't forget the underscore, as it is the most important underscore in all of the internet. And that's it for me.
Yeah, I think you need to copyright that because that is just one of the best ways to plug your Twitter.
I do wind up usually getting a couple followers every episode, so it's pretty cool.
Nice. All right, and you can also find me on Twitter @NateFandGreat. Again, just a lot of wrestling updates. I've been getting a lot more back into the wrestling scene of, talking about Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Lucha Underground is absolutely phenomenal.
Has it been? I heard season 3 was a pretty big letdown so far. They've been losing wrestlers to New Japan and Ring of Honor and stuff.
Yeah, I know that there's going to be some big things that are probably going to be happening with Ultimate Lucha.
Yeah, but, that's true.
Maybe we'll save that for another episode.
Maybe Anthem will buy them up. And then it'll be, then they'll merge the Lucha Underground and GFW Championship.
GFW Lucha Underground.
Anthem's got some big pockets. Like, this could be the Ted Turner era all over again. It could be. Like, they've got some, like, I was looking at some of their financial stuff, and they could bring in, like, a John Cena when his contract's up. I'm not saying that'll happen, but what if it did? Like, seriously, what if they got, like, so I know we got to go, but hypothetically speaking, WWE's USA Network contract is up in 18 months. And there's rumors that USA Network is very disappointed in the numbers that they've been getting with WWE Network, WWE Raw and SmackDown Live. So what would happen if they just looked over at GFW or looked over at whatever this company's called and said, like, hey, you guys are like 1/4 the cost. Your ratings are about 1/2 of what WWE is getting or less, on when they're on a good primetime spot on the USA Network. Let's give it a shot. But you guys have to bring in some superstar talent. So they go after, like, the John Cenas and the Randy Ortons. And maybe at that time they're past their prime a little bit. But, hey, it's WCW all over again with Hogan and Macho Man and Ric Flair in the main event. I mean, we could be seeing history repeating itself. We could. And there's only one way to find out. You'll just have to watch Raw, SmackDown, as well as GFW Impact Wrestling. So, for Joshua Jaeger from the Pro Wrestling Off Topic, I have been Nate the Effing Great for Elite Ringside Network. Thank you for joining us here. And we're going to be doing more of these shows because we like Impact Wrestling, we like all kind of wrestling, and other people are just very blind to the product that is now WWE. So, and if you're not blind, you could open up your eyes and check it out because just try it, man. It's not bad. Just try it out, man. So, have a good 4th, you guys. See you later.
Lie, Drake. That is just a fact of life.